Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this joint webinar between the European Trade Union Confederation, ETUC, and CEN. My name is Catherine, and I will be your webinar moderator and speaker today. Today's webinar will be about the technical cooperation between European and international standardization, namely the Vienna Agreement. Before starting the presentation, I would like to remind you that all attendees are mute, but of course you have the possibility to ask all the questions you wish using the question panel in the webinar control panel. We will review and answer your questions at the end of the session, and should your question not be answered today, don't worry. We'll have an FAQ, or let's say question and answer document that will be made available after in the coming days after this presentation, and that will be available online on the CEN/SELEC website, together with the presentation of today, of course. As you may know, CEN and SELEC, but also ETUC, are on Twitter, and do not hesitate to use the hashtag @TrainingForStandards should you wish to promote this webinar. So you will be guided through this by Natalia Giorgi, Consultant Standardization at ETUC, and by myself, Catherine Vigneron, Account Manager, Energy and Living in the CEN/SELEC Management Center. Today's webinar will address the following point. First, Natalia will introduce ETUC and the inclusiveness of the European standardization system, and I will then follow with a brief explanation of the European standardization system and its actors. Then I will go a little bit more in deep with the Vienna Agreement, and will explain you how it does work, and we will conclude with some key learning points. Now I give the floor to Natalia to introducing ETUC. Please, Natalia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Catherine. So we can go to the next slide. The ETUC is the European Trade Union Confederation. We are the voice of workers in Europe. We represent 45 million members from 90 trade union organizations in 38 European countries, plus 10 European trade union federations. If you'd like to have more information on the ETUC, our website is on the screen, as well as our handle for Twitter. Next slide, please. Thank you. The ETUC was designated by the European Commission in accordance with the Regulation on European Standardization to represent the interests of workers in European standardization. So the ETUC receives public funding from the Commission and EFTA to facilitate and to strengthen the participation of trade unions in European standardization. But our experts also participate in international standardization. ISO has increasingly over recent years moved into new fields of standardization, where issues around working conditions are addressed. More and more standards with a labor component are being developed at international level, which has led the ETUC to get further involved at that level too. And this is the reason why the ETUC thought important to organize, in collaboration with CEN, today's webinar. So although the ETUC participates in CEN and ISO, our participation in both organizations is not the same. Next slide, please. So the ETUC is a partner organization of CEN. We have signed a partnership agreement with CEN, and as such, the ETUC is represented at the policy level. We also participate in all the technical activities that have a potential impact on workers. So in practice, we simply need to ask CCMC to grant us the access to a technical committee where a standard that may impact workers is being developed, and we are automatically granted the access. We do not have a vote like the national members, but we do influence directly the content of the standard. Also, and it's worth underlining, the importance of including societal stakeholders is formally recognized in Europe. So the regulation states that European standardization organizations like CEN shall encourage and facilitate an appropriate representation and effective participation of all relevant stakeholders, including SMEs, consumer organizations, and environmental and social stakeholders, that would be the ETUC, in their standardization activities. This is not the case in ISO. Next slide, thank you. So the ETUC does not have a partnership agreement with ISO, but we can participate in the development of standards, provided we are first granted what is called a liaison status. So the ETUC has to first ask for a Category A liaison status. And that may seem straightforward, but it is not always the case. We were refused in the past that liaison, and sometimes that process can drag on for months, and in the meantime, the standard continues to be developed without our input. Moreover, we're not informed of new ISO standardization activities or we're not informed of the revisions of important standards because that is a privilege for ISO members. And finally, we're not consulted either on important policy documents. So for instance, we were not able to provide our input to the ISO strategy 2021-2030 because as far as we are aware, this is only limited to ISO members. Thank you very much. I now leave the floor back to Catherine to get into the details of the technical agreement.
Thank you, Natalia. Very interesting overview. Let's now continue with a brief reminder on the main actors of the European standards system. As you know, CEN is recognized together with CEN, NELEC, and ETSI by the regulation 1025/2012, so the standardization regulation. So CEN, together with NELEC and ETSI, is recognized as a European standards organization. CEN is a membership-based organization and has 34 members, the members being the national standardization body of the 28 EU countries, plus 3 EFTA countries, plus Turkey, plus North Macedonia, plus Serbia. The structure of the European standardization system is recognized in Article 2 and I believe in Annex 1 of the EU Regulation 1025/2012. So let's now focus on why you are attending this webinar, namely the Vienna Agreement. As you have seen in the slides before, CEN does not work in isolation, but rely on a solid network of experts, being national experts, but also international experts. These connections among experts is formalized through the Vienna Agreement. Indeed, as any other business, standardization has to be carried out as efficiently as possible. And of course, this implies that duplication of work should be avoided at all costs and synergies need to be developed. Within this context, the agreement on technical cooperation between ISO and CEN has been developed, of course, with the aim of optimizing the use of available resource and expertise, and this for the benefit of the stakeholders of both organizations. No need to attend twice the same meeting dealing with the same topics. The Vienna Agreement has been signed in 1991 and has been revised several times in 2001. And the guidelines on the implementation of the Vienna Agreement were developed in 2016. Let's now have a look at the portfolio, and as you can see, more than 30% of the CEN portfolio is identical or based on ISO. The rest is purely homegrown European CEN work. Let's now have a look at the sectors for which we have a high percentage of ISO work, or what we call parallel work. And here in red, you see the 3 sectors for which we do have more than 50% of the portfolio, which is based on ISO. And we see chemicals, healthcare and health and safety, and mechanical and machinery. What is important to bear in mind is that the Vienna Agreement recognizes the primacy of international standards and aims at standards to be recognized simultaneously at international and European level by means of an organized exchange between both entities. So the basic principle is, as said, primacy of international standards, as explained 2 slides before, the rational use of available resource, of course, avoiding the duplication of work. But what is very important is that the Vienna Agreement also recognized the particular needs of CEN, being, for instance, the regulatory framework, what we call the Single European Market. And the Vienna Agreement foresees the transfer of work from CEN to ISO, but also sometimes from the other side, from ISO to CEN. A key asset of that is that this agreement also accelerates the standards preparation process in response to market demands, because the work is done at one place and there is synchronous procedure. But let's go a little bit into practice. How does it work really? But first, in order to understand really how the Vienna Agreement functions, it might be interesting to remind the development process of a European standards. I can speak hours about that, but I try to summarize that in a 6-step approach. So first, in order to develop a standards, you need a proposal, a draft, something, which what we call new work item. Then there is a drafting and consensus building phases. Then the document is going to a public inquiry. The public inquiry at ISO side is called a DIS. After the public inquiry, there's a consideration of the comments received during this inquiry, during this DIS, and then there is a second formal step, which is called the formal approval, formal vote of the standards, which is the approval of the standards. The formal vote is called FDIS in ISO side. And then at the end, we do have the publication. So the most important steps, let's say, in terms of consensus building is, of course, the public inquiry and formal vote. And it is indeed at these steps that members and stakeholders are consulted. So this is very important, that at public inquiry and at formal vote, members are consulted, but also stakeholders. I wish to take also this opportunity to remind that ETUC, as partner organization of CEN, has access to the technical committee identified, which means the one of interest for them. And they also have access to the electronic tool, or let's say the electronic platform of those standards. And this electronic platform is called e-committees. Now, in terms of collaboration between CEN and ISO, there are 5 levels of cooperation. I will start from the less integrated collaboration and we'll finish with the parallel development of standards, which is the most integrated level of collaboration. So, I was too fast. Voilà. The first step, or let's say the first level of cooperation, is information exchange between CCMC, which is the CEN CENELEC Management Center, so the back office of CEN and CENELEC, and the ISO Central Secretariat. So the CEN CENELEC Management Center is regularly exchanging with the ISO Central Secretariat and at different levels, whether it is political exchanges or technical exchanges. For instance, ISO Central Secretariat is observer in the CEN Technical Board. We do have regular contact with the IT department of ISO in order to ensure alignments of our tools or alignments of our procedure. So this is a very regular exchange of information. If you go to the second level of collaboration, it is the cooperation by correspondence. So the provision for exchanges of information between an ISO and a CEN committee are established where and when necessary by common agreement between the secretariats of those committees. Each committee may decide on the detailed provisions of this exchange and for making available to its members some documents or even draft, and where and when. For instance, they can agree on exchanging, let's say, the reports of the meeting only, or draft only, or all documents. So this is the second level of cooperation. Let's go to the third one, which is a representation in meeting. So, for instance, questions of common interest to both an ISO and a CEN technical body may call for a mutual representation at meetings. It is possible. Representatives shall be formally appointed by the CEN or the ISO committee nominating them, and up to 4 representatives may be appointed to attend the meetings of the other organization. So this is a third. And let's go now to the 2 next level, which are, let's say, the most integrated one, which is the adoption and the parallel development of standards. Voilà. Let's go with the fourth, which is adoption of available publication. The organization which wants to adopt an available publication from the other organization has indeed the right to do so. So ISO and CEN can adopt each other published standard by submitting them to their own procedure. So if CEN wish to adopt a published ISO document, it's feasible. They launch a new work item explaining that they want to adopt that document, and it is submitted to the CEN procedure. The ideal situation, and let's say the most common situation, is that these standards should be adopted without change. It's an identical standard. It is important to know that technical specification and technical reports are not covered by the Vienna Agreement. This adoption is possible in principle only for European standards. Nevertheless, should there be a need to adopt at European level an ISO technical specification or an ISO technical report, it is possible, but then the CEN technical board needs to be involved, and the justification is to be provided by the requesting technical committee. In case of adoptions, there are 2 options. If there are changes to be brought to the documents, there are 2 options. Either the requested change are collected and then we send back the requested change to ISO, and then ISO could revise the publication and then go in parallel afterwards, for instance. This is the preferred way. If this is really not possible, and if there is really a need to adapt or to, let's say, to have some changes to the ISO document, to the ISO publication, then we can adopt a modified version of the available publication. But to be honest, this is a very rare case. What is also important to note is that, of course, the ISO Central Secretariat and the CEN Management Center must be informed as soon as possible when a technical committee wishes to adopt an ISO publication, or the contrary. Information is crucial. So should there be a need, please contact your secretariat as soon as possible. If we go now to this is the visual. You have on the left-hand side the ISO document, and you have on the right-hand side the EN version, the European version. As you can see, the date of publication is a bit different on top right of each pages. But when you see on the European page cover sheet, you see the date when the ISO was published here, 2014. Now, let's go to the parallel development. So this is the most integrated cooperation, but it is a little bit more complex. So if you are not already familiar with it, try to stay with me. There are several steps. So to start with, and it is it is probably the most important step, is the registration of the new work item. The ISO Central Secretariat and the Sense Lake Management Center mutually exchange work program. There is an agreement between both TC on the lead of the parallel work, and the ISO committee manager and the SEN technical committee secretary ensures that the new work item is created in both databases. This is very important, and it is the responsibility of both, let's say, secretariat. This step is very crucial, and why? It's very simple. If the correct information is not registered in the database, anything can happen. If it is well registered, you can be sure that the project is on track and will follow a smooth development. Catching up is not really easy, so that's why as early as possible, the information needs to be registered in the database. The second important step is the parallel ISO DIS vote. So we call it the inquiry in European work. Voilà. So to do that, in fact, the lead technical committee posts all files on the ISO electronic interface in case of ISO lead, which is, let's say, the majority of the cases. The ISO Central Secretariat prepared the text for the inquiry, the editing of the text, but they inform us, the Sense Lake Management Center, of the inquiry date, of the DIS date, so that we can already plan in our database the parallel inquiry, the parallel DIS, synchronous date, same timing, etc., etc. So we update our database. Then the parallel inquiry DIS takes place. It's a 12 weeks inquiry DIS, synchronously, as said. ISO members vote through the ISO portal, and SEN members vote through the SEN balloting application. What is very important to know is that both organizations have access to the voting results and comments. So it means that ISO and SEN committee leadership assess the results and circulated the voting results and comments to their committee. So it means that there is a communication to the CEN-TC even if the work is done at ISO level. If there is no technical change requested or needed, ISO can proceed to the publication in skipping the formal vote step or the FDIS step. What is important is that the SEN technical committee needs to take a decision to skip that step. Then the next part of the development is the consensus building process, and this is done by the lead organization. And when done, there is a parallel voting, a parallel vote, FDIS we call it in ISO, and again, the lead committee, in the vast majority of cases, the ISO technical committee, posts the file on the electronic ISO platform. ISO Central Secretariat prepare the text for vote, edit it, and inform us of the dates of the vote, when it will take place. And that again is very important because then we can plan it, put it in our database, etc., etc. Then the parallel vote to take place. It's an 8 weeks vote. And again, ISO members cast their vote on the ISO portal and send members in the SEN balloting application. Here again, ISO and SEN committee leadership circulate the voting result and comments to their committee. Again, it means a communication line with their TC. Then the last, but a very important step is the publication. In the vast majority of the case, as said, ISO as the lead, it means that the ISO Central Secretariat finalized the text, considering the latest editorial changes. The text is submitted to the committee manager, the secretary of the lead committee, for a 2 weeks review. No technical change can take place at that stage. It's only editorial review of the document. When done, the ISO Central Secretariat notifies the Senselect Management Center of the edition date and the publication, and from the Senselect Management side, we make available an EN ISO cover page and a European forward to the document, and the document is published. So just to say that there are several opportunities to exchange between both CC, and this is, very important for ETUC, for instance. Now, another very important aspect, as you know, approximately a quarter of the SEN portfolio is composed of standards in support of EU legislation, namely new approach directives or regulations. No matter whether these standards are homegrown standards or SEN ISO-based standards. The most important step in that context, again, is to identify at the beginning of the process whether the project needs to be linked to an EU directive, regulation, whatever, as soon as possible, so that both databases are updated at the beginning. As you may know, standards in support of EU legislation have a specific European annex or a specific annex called the Annex Z. And these annexes are assessed by external consultant that we call AS consultant. This annex is very crucial and allows the citation of the standards in the official journal. But what is very important to remind is that this annex, even if the standard is developed at ISO level, remain the responsibility of the European Technical Committee. But there are specific procedures for that, and I will not go too much into the details now. We are used to that, but keep in mind that even if the standard is done fully in ISO, there is still the responsibility of the European Technical Committee to prepare this famous annex in support of a EU legislation regulation. The SEN Technical Committee leadership, as said, needs to prepare that document, but as also to ensure a very, let's say, fluent and fruitful communication with the ISO committee leadership, especially regarding this famous Annex Z. What is also very noticeable is that, as said, those standards in support of EU legislation are assessed by external consultants. And there, the Senselect Management Center has some responsibilities. We send the ISO text at DIS or at FDIS stage to the HAS consultant for assessment. And the outcome of this assessment are released with the voting results and the comments, and are sent back to the ISO committee as well. So these steps are incorporated in our normal procedure, so we are used to it, but this is, let's say, an additional layer of complexity. But if everything goes well, it does not lead to any delay when dealing with parallel development of standards. The next one is regarding the revision and amendment. So of course, an amendment to a standards follow, let's say, the lead organization. So if ISO is the lead organization for a standard, for the amendment, amendment to this standard, ISO remain the lead organization. There is a possibility to have some minor revision, but this is ISO lead, and this is only for editorial change. And regarding the correction, it's ISO or SEN lead, and it's the ISO Central Secretariat, which they deal with the request for correction. This is, I believe, my last slide, and I would like to conclude. And this is for the visual. This is the parallel, the cover sheet of parallel development. As you can see, it's rather clear. We see on the right-hand side, so the European version, the CEN version of the document, but we have already the info that it is an ISO-based document because it's in the reference, so EN ISO 80000. And you know exactly which is the ISO standard concerned because it's, you know, into parentheses, into brackets just after the title. You might be interested to know that we do have a lot of documentations regarding the Vienna Agreement. There is the Vienna Agreement itself available on the CEN website. The guidelines for the implementation of the Vienna Agreements are also available. And we have a relatively new document, which is called the Day-to-Day Management, which is explaining into the details. It's very practical for the TC secretaries because this is explaining in much details all the steps of the parallel development of standards, explaining what each part has to do. And if you wish to listen to a summary of the day-to-day management, you have a presentation done by one of my colleagues, which is available on our website. We also do have the CEN-BOSS, which is, let's say, our online information system where you can find whatever you want regarding the development of standard, which is also freely available on our website. Key learning points. Yeah, now it's time to conclude. Just to say that we do have a long-standing relation between CEN and ISO, a long experience. We have dealt with many different cases. We can try to solve any situation which might sound impossible. We are able to try to deal with that. We collaborate as said at different levels, from a less integrated collaboration to a fully integrated collaboration, which is the parallel development of standards. What is very crucial is that, of course, the CEN and the ISO committee leadership coordinate themselves and exchange. Why? So that the database is updated and that the information is encoded as soon as possible. And what is also an important point is that the Vienna Agreement recognizes the particular needs of CEN, namely the fact that CEN is developing standards in support of EU legislation. So I'm at the end of the presentation, and I cannot go further without thanking Natalia for her participation and also to thank you for listening to us. And I believe it is now time